Mike? You okay?
Yeah. Have you seen this show? It's about a creepy killer rabbit doll that kills people in their sleep.
In the Keyhole, a man checks into a hotel, and the lady behind the desk tells him not to disturb the door without a number on it. Curiosity takes over, however, and the man looks through the door's keyhole. He sees a pale woman leaning against a wall. The man almost knocked on the door, but didn't. The next day, the man looked through the keyhole again, but only saw red. When he told the lady behind the counter about it, she said a man murdered his wife in the room and now haunts it. These people were white all over, but their eyes were fully red.
24.
Where Bad Kids Go tells the story of a photojournalist who lived in Lebanon as a boy and watched sinister 30-minute-long television kids shows. Each kids show had a moral at the end, and in the closing scene of each episode, the camera would zoom in on a closed door and screams would become more audible. A voice would say, "That's where bad kids go." When the man grew up, he decided to investigate the show and where the studio was located. When he found it, he entered a room with a microphone hanging from the ceiling, and blood, feces, and bones were scattered all over the floor.
23.
Sonic.exe is about Tom, who receives a ROM file of the game Sonic the Hedgehog from his friend Kyle. Kyle warns him not to use it. Tom, being a big fan of Sonic, uses the game anyway. Once playing, Tom suffers from supernatural delusions, witnessing horrific and gruesome scenes of Sonic murdering his friends with the phrase, "I am God." When Tom tries to get rid of the ROM, he hears a voice behind him. When he turns around to see where it comes from, he sees his Sonic plushie with bloodstains under his eyes.
22.
Considered one of the first Lost Episode creepypastas, Suicide Mouse tells the story of an old, lost Disney video of Mickey Mouse walking down the street and how Leonard Maltin got his hands on an extended cut. The extended cut features gruesome and horrific footage of Mickey Mouse dying. At the end, the author tells no one to see it if they find it and to contact him instead. No one knows who the author is.
21.
Told in the first person, Doors is a creepypasta about a child whose adopted family becomes attacked by a sinister-looking man. He kills the father, the mother, and drags the adopted child's sister out of the house before slamming the door. The adopted child sits at the door, looking down at its paws, wishing he could open doors.
20.
Inspired by a Doctor Who episode, Weeping Angel tells the story of a couple trying to purchase a house. After finally finding one they really love, they found angel statues in the garden and asked if they could be removed. Each time the husband looks out the window, the statues move, doing something else. Eventually, the statues attack the couple, but the couple is able to escape. 2 years later, still traumatized by the attack, the couple is living with a friend when the angels kill them.
19.
1999 is an older creepypasta written in 2001. The menacing part about 1999 is the way it blends fiction from fact. In it, a boy named Elliot watches kid shows on Channel 21 in Chalcedon, Ontario. At first, the shows are normal kid shows, but over time they turn dark. The darkest show was Mr. Bear Seller, which had a man dressed up in a bear costume yelling and arguing with an 11-year-old. Then, he addresses the camera and invites kids to come to the house. Elliot writes Mr. Bear, and he gets an invite. When he goes to the house, he's greeted by a police officer instead. As he gets older, Elliot investigates who Mr. Bear was, and only finds a horrific tape of the man burning children alive and finally burning the bear costume. Elliot gave up his investigation and ignores emails.
18.
Psychosis follows a man down a deranged and troubled rabbit hole. At first, he believes he's in a small apartment and feels as if something is wrong, but can't explain what. As time goes on and the days pass, he becomes more and more paranoid of the people and technology around him. By the end, he's a nervous wreck. Turns out, he's been in a psychiatric hospital the whole time, as a doctor comes in and tells him everything is okay.
17.
This creepypasta may make you think twice before going to another McDonald's again. It's about a troubled foster kid who goes from house to house. He's given a choice between military school and a place called the Ronald McDonald House. He chooses the latter. When he gets there, it's like nothing he's seen before, a haunted nightmare. He's tortured by tons of people dressed as clowns. The next day, he finds a photo album of all the people he used to know, murdered. He escapes the horror house and ends up at a McDonald's where he takes a laptop, sits down by a statue of Ronald McDonald, and writes the story.
16.
Smile Dog starts with a lady who claims she has a good scary story for a young writer to use. He goes to interview her and finds out about an email chain with an attachment, smile.dog, with the claim that viewing it will kill you unless you send it to someone else.
15.
Squidwards Suicide is about an intern who worked at Nickelodeon Studios. While in the editing room, helping put together an episode of SpongeBob SquarePants, they find disturbing footage of Squidward crying with realistic eyes. As they went frame by frame, they found real footage of children murdered with the shadow of the murderer taking their pictures.
14.
No End House starts with David hearing about a contest at a haunted house. If you can make it through to the end of the house, they'll pay you $500, but no one has ever made it to the end. Intrigued, and wanting to prove people wrong, and that you can make it to the end, David accepts the challenge. The first few rooms aren't scary at all, but room 3 is different. It's pitch black. Things get worse and worse as he passes through each room until he reaches room 7, which is seemingly outside. He figures he beat the contest, but he doesn't care about the prize. He just wants to go home. Of course, he can't make it home because he's still in room 7. He gets to room 9 and thinks he finally beat it when he gets the $500 prize. But when he goes home, etched on the house is a number 10.
13.
About an abandoned theme park titled Mowgli's Palace in South Carolina, abandoned by Disney, almost feels like it really happened. After the theme park is shut down for no real reason, a man goes on an investigation to find it again and see what happened. He looks around the theme park that's now covered in weeds and doesn't find anything out of the ordinary, except for the room Character Prep 1. Inside, he finds a living Mickey Mouse costume that takes off his head to disgusting and horrifying results.
12.
Annie 96's typing is a unique twist on creepypasta storytelling, using only texting bubbles as a way to present dialogue and tell the story. As you read it, though, you feel as if you're able to read their texts in real time. Annie is texting David when she sees someone outside that looks a lot like David. Eventually, this person breaks into her house and Annie tries to escape. You won't believe what Annie texts at the end.
11.
Enora Petrova is an accomplished figure skater who had an eye for competing in the Olympics. One day, she decides to Google herself and discovers there's a Wikipedia page about her. On the page, it says she'll win a competition the following day. She brushed it off thinking it was an error, but the next day, she did win. Each time she checked the page, it said she'd win, and she did. But before a championship, it didn't say anything. So, hoping she could fix the competition, she tried to write that she would win. It didn't work, and instead wrote horrible things about her. Soon, her entire life fell apart, as it predicted her parents would die, and they did. She tried to contact Wikipedia to have them take the page down, but they had no record of the page. As she continued to refresh the page to see what would happen, it read that she would die. The police found her dead body on the computer keyboard.
10.
Robert the Doll starts in the late 1800s with the Ottos moving to a mansion in Key West. They hired a Haitian servant to take care of their son Robert. However, they fired her when they found her practicing black magic. Before she left, she gave Robert a doll, and he named the doll Robert as well. Robert the Doll started doing evil things, becoming more and more violent. Eventually, the Ottos locked Robert the Doll in the attic. That didn't stop him, of course. As time went on and more horrible things happened to the Otto family, Robert the Doll was put in the East Martello Museum in Key West, where he remains to this day.
9.
During World War II, Russians did experiments on prisoners of war, including keeping 5 prisoners in a room and filling the room with a gas that kept them awake. The first 5 days went by fairly normal, but after that, horrible things began to happen. The prisoners complained more and suffered from paranoia and social isolation. They mumbled things into a microphone and asked to be freed. After 15 days, however, they didn't want to be free, and when the Russians put fresh air back into the room, the prisoners begged for the gas to be turned back on. The prisoners began eating their own flesh and mutilating themselves. They all died, one by one.
8,
The Rake is about actual events taking place in 2003 involving a human-like creature terrorizing people in North America. Someone pieced together each account and found they were always identical to each other. In each case, the creature people call the Rake visits people in their sleep, putting its hand at the edge of their bed. After the creature appears, people usually end up dead in one way or another.
7,
Most people have heard of Slenderman, especially after the horrific attack involving two girls who lured their friend into the woods and stabbed her. The two girls claimed Slenderman told them to do it. The allure of Slenderman is tied up in his ancient and mysterious past, involving Egyptian, German, and Brazilian cultures, among others. He's described as a tall, slender man with tentacles or long legs, and he wears a black suit. His main intentions are kidnapping children. Though he was made up on the website Something Awful, many people claim to have seen Slenderman.
6,
The creepypasta Ben Drowned is a well-known, incredibly popular story about a guy who received a Zelda Majora's Mask cartridge from an old man. He started a new file, but the characters referred to him as Ben. To fix this, he deleted the Ben saved game, but then even more bizarre events happened. Videos posted of these events have been put on YouTube, and stories continued through YouTube by various people claiming to know the original guy. Many catchphrases were made during these videos, including, "You shouldn't have done that."
5,
Based on Native American legends, Anasi's Goatman story began on 4chan and spread from there, becoming a popular story. It's about a teenager visiting family in Alabama. While camping in the woods with his cousins, they see a goat man walking around talking in gibberish. Gradually, the goat man terrorizes the group, thrusting them into a state of paranoia.
4,
Jeff the Killer is one of the most horrifying internet creepypastas out there. Originating from a Photoshop picture of a bullied girl, it spawned into dozens of creepypasta stories about Jeff, a man whose face was burned off with acid that hides in your closet and tells you to go to sleep before killing you.
3,
Penpal started on Reddit's popular No Sleep subreddit, but eventually grew so big that the author Dathan Auerbach published a novel from it. It's about a boy who sends a letter attached to a balloon in hopes of corresponding with whoever finds it. Despite his many failed attempts, he finally gets what he wanted, and that's not a good thing.
2,
Written in a forum format, Cove is about a kids' television show that people talk about on an internet forum. As they talk about it and remember it, their memories get darker and darker, involving horrible villains doing pretty disturbing things. At the end, when one of the characters asks their mom if they remember them watching Cove, their mom said they would tune the TV to static and watch dead air for 30 minutes.
1,
If you like zombie stories, this creepypasta is right up your alley. Persuaded is about a horrible chemical spill that turns anyone who touches it into a ravenous and violent animal. The main character tries to live an ordinary life, but the zombies keep spreading until they surround his apartment. He holes away, waiting for the zombies to eventually get him. Enjoying our lists? Be sure to click that subscribe button in the bottom right so you don't miss out on new ones every Monday through Friday. Share them with your friends and help us consistently conciliate curiosity. And if you want even more lists, check out these 3 videos here, or just head to our website at list25.com.